welcome back to Love Your Food. This week we are doing these beautiful honey crullers with a little bit of a lemony twist, but first, before we get started, we have our first affiliate link. I'm going to put it in the description below. If you need a kitchen thermometer or a meat probe, check out Chef's Temp, and on checkout, use our code LOVEYOURFOOD, all one word, and get 15% off your purchase on a new meat thermometer for your kitchen. But let's get started first off with our ingredients. So we've got some flour, just some AP flour, some milk, some water, some butter, some eggs. We're going to use the zest from a lemon, as well as some salt and just a little bit of sugar. Now, the first thing we're going to do with these is add our dry ingredients into a pan with the water and the milk, because basically, crullers are a choux pastry, so they're the same sort of pastry that you'd use for things like profiterole or eclairs or anything like that. They're just a regular choux pastry. And they're piped into a ring and then deep fried. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to melt our butter into our pot here with the water and milk and the salt and sugar. And we're going to get this going, and we're not going to touch this really until the butter is completely melted. And there you go. You want to make sure there's no chunks of butter or anything left in there. You want to make sure everything's completely melted. There's no solids left. All of the salt and sugar have also been dissolved, so there's nothing grainy or gritty at the bottom there, because your choux pastry should be beautiful and smooth. And then into this, once everything is melted, we're going to bring it to the boil. We want it to be boiling when we add in our flour. So we're going to add in the flour, and then this comes together super fast. So we're going to add in the flour and start whisking it together. And you can see it comes together super fast. Now, you want to keep this on the heat, and you want to keep it moving, because with the butter and the flour and everything in there, a little bit of sugar, this will stick and burn very, very quickly. But as you can see, it comes together very fast. It doesn't take very long before you can see it getting nice and smooth. We're just going to whisk this and cook it until it's got that beautiful sort of glossy consistency. It pulls away from the side of the pan like you see there. And then we want to cool it. So we're going to take that out of the pot. We're going to put it into a nice big metal bowl here and try and get as much out of the whisk as possible. It's a bit of a sticky dough, or I guess batter really. And before we add our eggs, we want this to be cool. We want it to be at least room temperature. So we're just going to spread that out in a bowl and let it cool down as quickly as it can. While we're waiting for that to happen, we're going to use the zester, or we're going to use our microplane grater here, to zest our lemon. And we're going to use all of the zest from one lemon. We didn't get quite as much as we'd hoped, but it was enough for sure. So once your choux pastry, such as it is so far, has cooled, we're going to add in one of the eggs and the lemon zest. So you want to get all that lemon zest off that plate as much as you possibly can. We're not adding the juice, just the zest. It's going to give it that beautiful, bright, lemony aroma with the lemon oil and the zest. And all that's going to go in there. Now, you can flavor this other ways. You can add just a tiny little drop of like orange blossom water or something to this if you'd prefer. Whatever you prefer. So we're just going to stir in the first egg. Once it's fully incorporated, we're going to add in the second egg until it makes a little bit less of a solid dough, and it looks more like a batter, as you can see here. So it's still going to be very, very sticky. You're still going to have to struggle a little bit to get it out of your whisk, but it's a little runnier. It's a little easier to move around. And we're going to put this into our bowl. We're just going to sort of mound it up, and we are going to chill this for a little while. And very much like our pastry cream, we're going to put our cling wrap right down on top of it, just to make it retain its moisture a little bit better. We're just going to make sure it doesn't lose any more moisture than it needs to. So once that has completely cooled, we're going to pull the cling wrap off, and we're going to get this into a pastry piping bag with a star tip. So once you've got that in your pastry bag, you're going to get it your nice big star tip, and we're going to bake this on little squares of parchment paper. So we're just going to pipe this out into rings on the squares of parchment paper, because it's not really all that easy to pipe these out onto, for instance, the net basket for a deep fryer or anything like that. So we're just going to pop them into the hot oil right on those little squares of parchment paper. Now, it's important that you're using parchment paper and not, for instance, wax paper, because we are dropping the paper into the fryer. Now, they will release as soon as they hit the heat. So you just pull the paper out as quick as you can. But like I said, don't use wax paper because the wax will melt into your oil, and you definitely don't want that. And you're just going to cook these until they look nice and golden brown on the outside, and the bubbles have sort of slowed down quite a lot. And then we're going to put these aside and let them drain a little bit. If you've got your deep fryer on hot enough, they're not going to soak up any oil. They're going to stay nice and crispy and light. The insides are going to fluff right up. And then normally these are sort of glazed with a fondant glaze or a honey glaze or something like that. We want them to remain crispy. We wanted them to stay crispy, so we just glazed them with a little bit of powdered sugar. And you can see how light and fluffy they are inside. Absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, super crispy on the outside, nice and fluffy on the inside. That choux pastry did its work amazingly well. And they're honestly quite simple. A choux pastry can be a little bit finicky every now and then, but really, really worth it, really delicious. And that lemony sort of burst from them, absolutely amazing. So we hope you'll give that a try. If you like this recipe, please do like and subscribe. And if you have any recipes you'd like to see Chef Caleb try on the channel, please let us know in the comments below. Thanks again to our patrons. I will put a link in the description to our Patreon if you'd like to support the channel. And remember to love your food.